With fears of sticky inflation, Bitcoin and gold in a very strong week in the red. We take a look at some surprising data that suggests we are in uncharted territory economically. Also, is there a correlation between GBTC outflows and IBIT inflows? One thing's for sure, Uncle Larry is praising Satoshi as Bitcoin helps to power Blackrock's assets under management to a record of $10.5 trillion. Plus, we get into more juicy topics like debt forgiveness, commercial real estate getting wrecked yet again, and the US government spying on its citizens without a need for a warrant. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Bitcoin Daily Show. I'm Dante Cook, head of Swan Business. The University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Survey dropped to 77.9, below the expected number of 79. Inflation expectations from consumers are set to be at 3.1% for the next year and at 3% for the next 5 to 10 years. This widely respected survey accurately depicts the concern of Americans all over the country. These developments may have a major influence on the economy and the election coming up, but their concern about inflation doesn't seem to be impacting the general sentiment and excitement around the ETFs. As yesterday, there was another great day of ETF inflows at $91 million. It's interesting. There's that saying that one person's trash is another person's treasure. And that seems to be true. If you look at the correlation between GBTC's outflows and IBIT's inflows, there seems to be almost a one-to-one match. When GBTC outflows, IBIT inflows. This is incredibly positive for Bitcoin because it goes to show that people aren't leaving the asset class altogether. They're just looking for lower fee alternatives. And that seemed to have a major impact on Blackrock's earnings. BlackRock reported earnings earlier this morning. Their assets under management ballooned to $10.5 trillion. And you know what? Their quarter was only as positive as it was because of Bitcoin. They did outperform on net income, but the expected number of net inflows across their funds was well lower than expected. Where would BlackRock be without Bitcoin? Bitcoin contributed to $19 billion in assets under management in just its first quarter after launch. This is in light of BlackRock having a total of 67 billion assets under management for the quarter. That's about 30% of their total fund flows and assets under management for the quarter. But I do want to point something out because I have to tell the truth on this show. When you see reporting that BlackRock holds 270,000 Bitcoin, that's just not true. First of all, BlackRock isn't the one custodying the Bitcoin. That's actually Coinbase. And second of all, they are holding that Bitcoin on behalf of investors and shareholders. BlackRock itself does not own the Bitcoin that are being reported out there. So people saying that BlackRock's buying up all the Bitcoin, that's not true. But I digress. Just this morning, Larry Fink said that if inflation was measured like it was the 1980s, with a heavier emphasis on food inflation, housing, and interest rates would actually be 12%. He also doesn't believe that we're going back to 2% inflation anytime soon because we have major infrastructure issues in this country.
I think 2 is a hard number. We have restructured how we frame our economic policy. We have $1 trillion of fiscal stimulus in the CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act, and the IRA. We have very poor legal immigration policies that have restricted, and that is all inflationary in jobs. And then the bigger issue is how we think about how we spend our incremental dollars. As we're spending a lot more money on services. So if you think about where service inflation is really the main culprit of high elevated inflation. We have an aging housing stock in America. So our homes have more frequency of leaks from older roofs. We have more frequency of busted pipes. This is now translating into a higher elevated insurance cost.
This is likely why gold is up. The shiny rock is up 14% year to date. And you know what? I'm happy for the gold guys. And there are good gold guys. Good guys like Larry Lepard or Mark Moss. I don't know why everybody has to be so mad when a certain asset class or certain people are doing well. Good for them, good for their customers, good for their clients. But here's my issue with gold guys, especially ones taking to Twitter these days. Gold is up 14% year to date, and they've been wrong for the last 14 years. And what's funny is they don't take the same approach to their analysis with gold as they do with Bitcoin. When the gold price goes up, the moves are always rational, explainable, thoughtful. But when Bitcoin's price goes up, It's overhyped. It's overbought. It's based on fumes. It's the mania of the markets. It's a hyped up Ponzi scheme. I do want to say this again. I am truly happy for you. But if you look at gold's performance over the past 14 years, it's barely outpaced inflation. I mean, just look at the compound annual growth rates for Bitcoin as it compares to gold. Bitcoin is going to have lower inflation moving forward. It has a better Sharpe ratio or risk adjusted returns. And the return on investment in Bitcoin has been far superior to gold. And for all the gold people that say that this is clearly rational or the East is buying up all the golds and that's why the price is going up, we'll take a look at this chart right here. As the price of the dollar has gone up, the price of gold has typically gone down, and vice versa. As the value of the dollar has gone down, the value of gold has typically gone up. But right now, we have a rising dollar and rising gold. The same could be said as for gold as it relates to the 10-year treasury rate. The same could be said for Bitcoin, as Bitcoin has always been deemed an asset that needs free money or low interest rates in order to be bid up in terms of price. But we see these narratives starting to diverge. Rates are as high as they've been in a long time, but the price of Bitcoin seems to be unaffected. I think that people know that something is going on, that fiat currency is truly losing its grip on the world. Gold bugs and Bitcoiners agree on a lot of things. We absolutely align on the fact that money is broken. And we can absolutely agree that President Joe Biden forgiving student debt for 277,000 more people is probably not right. Who's paying for the debt? Where did the debt go? Did the debt just disappear? Why is the debt being canceled for people who went to college and took on debt to go to college when most of the people struggling in America are people who didn't go to college? Are you going to forgive debts for them? Do you see the issues with this? In the world, there's sowing and there's reaping, and someone always has to pay. Well, unless you're a lender in commercial real estate, where you don't have to mark the value of the real estate on your books until it's sold. And in another example of commercial real estate that we continue to track, an iconic building in downtown Cleveland sold for just $54 million, which is a 70% decrease in value from the $187 million that it sold for in just 2018. I thought Bitcoin's drawdowns were bad. And you know what else is drawing down? The percentage of revenue that Coinbase makes from Web3 and crypto tokens. And you know what's going up? The percentage of revenue that they make from Bitcoin as it relates to their overall revenue. It's sort of like people are starting to understand what's real and what's fake in this world. And you know who else is starting to understand what's real and what's fake? Saints captain and linebacker Demario Davis, who said at a talk at Lipscomb University just yesterday that fiat currency is unjust and corrupt, and I'm Bitcoin only. It's easy to understand why people are losing trust. And another brazen example by our elected officials to try to show that we are truly living in a democracy. There was a tiebreaker earlier today with a 212 to 212 vote on the House floor for an amendment that would require the United States government to get a warrant in order to spy on its citizens. And being played up in drama, the Speaker of the House, who doesn't always vote, voted in favor of dropping that rule for a warrant, making the final vote 213 to 212. Drama, I know. So, what do we do with this? We have a choice. We can continue to vote for a corrupt and unjust system, or we can vote to opt out of that system with our dollars. And we can do this peacefully with a currency and with a money that can't be manipulated and can't be controlled. There's no better place to do that than swan.com, where you can download our mobile app and get started on your Bitcoin journey in just a few minutes. And you know what's great about this? The first $10,000 in trades that you make on the platform have no fees. That's right, fee-free. And if you already have a Swan account, the next $10,000 that you purchase with, again, have no fees. So don't waste any time. Be like the people who start to understand the real from the fake and buy yourself some real Bitcoin. Download the mobile app at swan.com/app today. And if you have any questions or need any help, send me an email to daily@swanbitcoin.com. Here's the last thing before we close for the weekend. I'm not really a golf guy, but Sunday at the Masters is one of the best and most electric days of sports. This weekend, I'll obviously be watching the top people: Bobo, Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzgerald, but I'll probably be watching the people that I grew up loving. like Tiger Woods, who won in an unlikely fashion in 2019, and to start this year's Masters, birdied the very first hole. I hope Tiger can turn it around today. And because I'm a sports guy and I love Bitcoin, I had a little bit of fun in pricing the prize money for the Masters in Bitcoin terms over the last 10 years. And the results are, again, unsurprising. The Masters prize money was $1.4 million in 2012, or 293,279 Bitcoin. And although the purse has more than doubled to $3.2 million today, it is only worth 46 Bitcoin. The more that you save in Bitcoin, the cheaper life becomes. The more that you save in fiat, the more expensive it becomes. And you continue to fund the system. So with that, I hope you get out there, touch some real grass. I know for most of you, you might actually break the lawnmower out this weekend. But if you're not touching grass, you're probably watching the best grass in the world at Augusta National. Enjoy your weekend. And with that, I'm Dante Cook and we're signing off. Happy stacking.